In today's weekly Forex forecast, we're talking about the DXY, the Euro, the Pound, the New Zealand Dollar, and also the Euro versus the Canadian Dollar for the week ending June 28, 2024. All right, guys, so let's go ahead and jump right in. And in fact, before we get to that, if you do want my help with your trading to make you a better trader, okay, hands-on help inside of Discord, then you're going to want to click on the link at the top of this video to get 90% off lifetime access to our real-time trading group in Discord and also access to the new course. So inside of Discord, you're going to get hands-on help from me every single day. You're also going to see exclusive charts and setups, daily videos, and you're also going to see my trades in real time, including one I put on last week and another one that I put on this week. And by the way, both of those trades are in profit now. So alternatively, you can also see the link in the description of this video and join outright there or sign up with Prime XBT and deposit $500 or more. Same thing on the website. Click on that Join VIP link. Or if you're watching this video, scroll right down and you'll see the link there to join Prime XBT and deposit $500 or more for lifetime access to the group and the course. All right, so looking at the DXY, guys, the US dollar index, we are seeing the market starting to rally here a bit in the last couple of days of this week. So if you saw the weekly forecast from last weekend, the DXY played out pretty much exactly as I thought it might, where we did get that move down here into that Thursday candle. So June 13th, you can see this big green candle right back here. There was an imbalance based on this move right here. Okay, so we saw a very shallow retrace on that Friday. The market held below 105.6. So this level was intact as resistance early this week. And what I said in the last weekly forecast is that we could get a move down here into that Thursday candle, which you can see we got right here, which was the low here this week for the DXY. And so far, we are seeing between Thursday and Friday, the market, breaking above 105.60. So if the DXY can hold above this into today's close, which is obviously the weekly close as well, then we have a new range for next week. Okay, so very simply, we have the market trading back here within this range. Okay, so a sustained break above 105.6 flips this area down here to new support, and we have resistance up here very clearly at 106.5. Okay, now alternatively, if obviously the market were to lose 105.6, then that could initiate a pullback down here toward these lows. But as of right now, the DXY does look relatively strong here above 105.6. All right, so like I've said over the past few weeks, especially considering the reclaim back here, okay, this fake out down here below the bottom of this channel that we've looked at here for weeks, following that reclaim, I did once again turn bullish on the dollar. So I told you guys back here to start watching for a higher DXY. Now, obviously, we had a lot of volatility here following FOMC, even a sweep all the way down here to fill in this imbalance. But you can see where the DXY did hold on to the bottom of that channel. Okay, so I am still bullish on the dollar. I do think that we're likely to see 106.5 and even these highs back here around 107 and potentially even over the coming weeks and months, a move up there toward 109 to 110 like I've described in recent videos. So next up, we have the EURUSD, which despite the fact that the market has been very sideways here over the past year and a half, we know why that's the case because like I've mentioned in recent videos, we do have this trend line up here off of that 2021 high, and this has been resistance here for the euro. We also have this trend line down here, which could come into play next week, right around 1.065. Okay, so if we move into the daily chart, so this is the weekly, and again, like I've said in recent videos, this is why the euro has been very sideways since the start of 2023, because it is getting toward the apex of this pattern. So I do think over the coming months, we are likely to see some very explosive moves from these major currency pairs. But right now, we do have range-bound conditions. Okay, so looking at the EURUSD, we know that this up here was a fake out. Okay, so this was a failed breakout from the euro, which is bearish for a market, right? Which we saw, clearly the market moving lower here. And we did get a retest up there at 1.086. Now, I want to talk through a couple of things that have occurred here this week. And the first one being this reclaim right here at 1.0725. So this was the level that we've been watching here, and there's a good reason for it. If you go out here and move out toward this price action all the way back here in late 2023, you can see where this has been a pivot here for the EURUSD. Now, of course, this down here became a failed breakout, which we got the reclaim up here, retest as new support, and the rally. So this has been a critical pivot for the euro, right around 1.0725. So we saw the market, reclaim this level this week, spend a few days above this level, and then fail on Thursday. So what's happening here? Is this just choppy price action, or is there something more to this? And I mentioned this to VIP members earlier this week, But this is why it's critical if you are trading the higher time frames that you have to glance at the weekly as well. And this goes for you guys who are trading the daily charts as well. You need to look at the weekly because here you can see where 1.0725, right? Very clean level here. So again, this down here became a failed breakout. We got the close back above, retest as new support, and the rally. Now, what you can notice here is that a couple weeks ago, we did get the close below, weekly close below, and that meant that this week, 1.0725 was resistance on a weekly closing basis. And that's what's key, weekly closing basis versus daily closing basis. So on the weekly chart, this level was always resistance. So if you were trading this right here, if you were trading this reclaim and thinking this was bullish back here toward this level, first of all, you have to look at the DXY because like we've mentioned, that reclaim of the channel was bullish for the dollar. And like I also mentioned to VIP members, what you'll notice here is that this price action, between these 2 days, this was all just sideways action. It lacked conviction. And furthermore, like I mentioned, this level at 1.0725 was always resistance on a weekly closing basis. The market never flipped this on the weekly chart. So that's why I maintained my bearish bias here for the euro this week, which is obviously simultaneously a bullish bias for the US dollar. Now, going into next week, what can we see here from the euro? And this is where that trend line from back here in November of 2022 comes into play. Because you can see that off of these lows right here, we do have a trend line that comes in right around 1.065. The market didn't quite test it here recently, so I do think that this is going to be tested over the coming days, sometime next week. And I also think, though, that we could see a pretty decent bounce from this area. Now, here's where you have to get a little bit more detail-oriented, though, if you're looking to buy down here, just because if you're looking to buy down here, you've got to consider what the DXY is doing. Because we saw the fake out below this channel support here from the DXY. We've also now seen potentially a reclaim of 105.6. So if you are buying the euro down here in this area and expecting for a significant rally, you've got to consider what the DXY is doing. This reclaim, if the market can hold above 105.6, then I do not like the idea of looking for buys down here on the euro for a long-term hold. Yes, we could see a bounce from this area, right back here toward these highs. But as far as a long-term hold, looking for something more significant, I just don't see it based on what the DXY is doing. Now, I could be wrong on that. I could, of course, be wrong on that. I don't know where this market's going. Nobody does. But I just think with what the DXY is doing right now, what we're seeing from the pound, etc., I do like the idea of, over the coming weeks, looking for a bounce down here and then potentially a shortened opportunity on a sweep of these highs. All right, that's just my opinion. It's never financial advice, but that is what I'm watching for here on the EURUSD. All right, so a very similar situation for the pound here. We have the market coming off of this trend line from 2021. So very similar situation to the euro, which is no surprise there. And this is what I'm watching right now for the pound. So as you guys know, if you've watched recent videos, I was shorting this market from right up here. So if we go toward the daily time frame, you're going to see that these retests right here, I was getting short through this area. All right, and that was based on a fake out that I saw here throughout this price action. And I did stay in through this move up here. Again, I announced this entry in the VIP group with my stop loss at the time. So members know that my stop loss was, above this move right here. And this was also a starter position. I do want to add to this position next week, potentially, if we get the right kind of price action. And the right kind of price action I'm referring to, which, by the way, guys, the video I put out a couple of days ago, I was talking about how the market did retest this resistance here, and I still favored the bearish bias, right? But the market had to get below 1.2685. So this level through here, this is what the pound needed to get below in order to open up downside targets. So you can see on Thursday, we got the close below. It looks like we'll get the close below today. If so, then I will be looking for shorts next week. However, instead of looking, right here at this exact level, I would like to see some kind of intraday move up here into this area, into this candle, to clear out early shorts and give us that move lower down here toward areas like 1.256. All right, so my entry back here, again, it was a starter position. It still is a starter position. I have not added to this yet, just because I wanted to see the pound get below 1.2685. Now, if we move out here on the daily, right, again, very much like the euro, we have this trend line down here. The only difference is this level is quite a bit lower than where it is on the euro. So ultimately, I still like the pound lower, and this also goes back to what we've seen here over the past few months, in fact, over a year. And this is what I mentioned recently as well, that, we will eventually see these markets break out, but right now we do have range-bound conditions. And this is why I was looking for shorts up here in this area, because right now this is what we've seen. So if this pattern continues, then I do think 1.256, potentially the area around 1.24, okay, all the way down here, could very much come into play here for the pound. Now, that could take weeks or even months to play out, right? We know how choppy this market can get, especially here in 2024. Just look at areas like this, okay, even this back here. But ultimately, again, I do like the market lower as long as it holds below 1.2685, and especially that 2021 trend line up here just below 1.28. So next up, we have the New Zealand dollar, which I did mention yesterday. And I did want to follow up on this because we are seeing the market once again bounce from this trend line here that I talked about. All right, so we do have the potential for a topping pattern developing here for the New Zealand dollar. And this also goes hand in hand with what we're seeing from the DXY, breaking above 105.6, and also the stock market, which is starting to look a little bit shaky at current levels. So if we do see the DXY continue higher next week, the stock market start to break down, then that is going to bode well here for short opportunities on the New Zealand dollar. Also very similar price action to what we saw back here, right? The retest up here is looking very similar, as is the kind of rounded price action in this area. So the key here for a short, in my opinion, again, never financial advice, but what I'm watching for next week will be a sustained break below this trend line right here. So right around 61.05. So a sustained break below here flips it to resistance. You do have to be careful though with this 60.50 area. This is going to be support here for the New Zealand dollar. Now, like I mentioned in yesterday's video, this is also looking very similar to what we got back here in this area. So if you look here off of the closing price, what you're going to notice is that this looks very similar, right? We had a somewhat rounded top up here. We had support down here that broke down, retest as resistance. So we could get a similar situation here for the New Zealand dollar to open up those downside targets. Now, one area below 60.50, if we do see it, is going to be obviously these lows down here, but also this imbalance right here on this candle, okay? Notice how the very next candle had a very shallow retrace before the market took off, and the New Zealand dollar has not been back there to revisit that area, at least not yet. All right, so the plan for next week, at least for me, is going to be to see if this market can get below this trend line here, right around 61.05. A sustained break below this opens up downside targets, but do be aware that 60.50 is likely to attract buyers. And last up, I want to follow up on the EURCAD, which is something that we talked about a couple of weeks ago. It might have been last week, actually, that we talked about this. So you can see up here that this is a textbook failed breakout. So this is exactly what I look for. This is also what the course teaches. And you can see where we had resistance that built up here over several months. We got the close above, and this area flipped to new support. Now, we did get the breakdown here on this candle, and I was looking for a retest as new resistance, which we have not gotten, at least not yet. So you can see that on this candle right here, we got the confirmed breakdown, retest as new resistance the very next day. So you could classify that as a retest. However, I prefer to see a rounded retest, which we really didn't get this week. Okay, so unfortunately, we didn't get a full retest here. And in fact, I was kind of looking for a move up here into this imbalance in order to get short here on the EURCAD. Now, instead, we've seen the market break below a trend line that we also talked about recently. So off of this October low from last year, you can see where this week we are seeing the EURCAD start to break down. Okay, so for next week, this area up here is going to flip to resistance here for the EURCAD. And keep in mind too, with a volatile pair like this, there is that chance that we get a retest up here and then a move up here to retest this level to clear out shorts before we get that move lower. All right, so keep that in mind as well, that this entire area is going to be resistance. It's not just a matter of this exact trend line. All right, so I am still bearish here, given the price action, given this failed breakout that we saw up here. However, if you are looking for shorts, again, just my opinion, never financial advice, but if you are looking for shorts, I think you've really got to stay patient here because you don't want to try to short the lows here after an extended move lower like this. Also, to secure a favorable risk reward, I would need to see something a little higher up here in this area in order to even entertain a short. Okay, so support comes in down here at these lows, but the key support, the critical support here for this market is going to be down here in this area right around 1.4490. Subscribe to the channel and click that bell icon for notifications. Don't forget to join us in VIP, claim your 90% off, lifetime access to the real-time trading group and also the course. See the link in the description of this video, or if you're on the website, click on that join VIP link. Have a great weekend, and I will talk to you again next week.